Hi guys, it's Kat with Taming the Tangle. And today let's dive into the Tower card. We're just going to hit a lot of tough cards here at the beginning of this series of videos that I'm doing because I'm feeling slightly influenced by the world being in a pandemic right now. We are most definitely in Tower energy. um, Tower is a time when you feel that sense of upheaval. They have no sense of control over anything. And the tricky thing with the Tower is that control is an illusion anyway. A lot of times what this card is getting at is you can own possessions, or you can have a house, you can have a job, all of those types of things, but don't let those things own you. So ultimately, you're trying to build this life, or this is, what I believe of the messages from the Tower card, and that you're partnering with the divine. So whether you consider that the universe or God, goddess, all these different types of things, but there is a co-creation that's happening with that other realm. It's not just you being in control. Now, one of the reasons why I think that is, here's what I find very confusing about the Tower is when you work with tarot and things happen in cycles of 10, and in the major arcana, there are two cycles of 10. So you have the light journey, that's numbers 1 through 10 in those cards. And then you have the shadow journey, numbers 11 through 20. Is when I teach tarot intuitively, it's set up like a clock. So 10 is at the top instead of 12, because it's only a cycle of 10. And at the very bottom is 5. So 5 is the furthest away you can get from 10. It is the biggest challenge point in the cycle of like wanting to close that cycle out, that cycle of 10. There's some tens that you don't actually want to get to, like, like when you think of 10 of swords or something, but, you still want to close out the cycle and move on to some new sorts of learnings and everything. Well, the Tower, as crazy and intense as it seems, is card number 16. It's not card number 15. We're going to talk about that in another video. That's the devil. So card number 16. So what does that mean? That this isn't the hardest card. There's just some other lessons here. And a lot of times when you look at the cycles of 10 and some of the minor arcana, it is like the number 6, which is what the 16 spot is holding, is generally very sweet because you're kind of relieved. Woo, made it past the 5, And so that's what's gotten me to look a little differently at the Tower card. I'm not saying that's not intense. We know what it feels like, especially right now when we're in the midst of a pandemic. A lot of us have lost our jobs, our means of income, all of that type of stuff. We're having to make decisions, about what we own, and we don't even know how to get rid of things or sell them anymore. So it can be a really crazy feeling. And the other thing that's interesting about this card is what holds the 6th place in the light part of the major arcana is the Lovers. And the Lovers is, this very sweet card where I'm not saying it can't have intensity to it, but this partnership where you're seeing things that are mirrored back to you when you go out into the world. And that's what got me to start thinking about the Tower as, the plus sides of it is kind of waking you up to how you can partner more with the divine. How can you surrender and give things over, release some of that control, and just have a bit more trust of like, you can be challenged. We get challenged in those trust moments. We get challenged when we're surrendering, but it can also be like, show me the way, help me to see what I'm not seeing, please let this be working for me, not against me. Like, how can this be reconstructed? And that helps me feel a little differently about the Tower. I definitely recognize Tower moments ever since about 3 weeks ago when the pandemic was really gathering steam in the news here in the United States. I've started getting the Tower card a lot more in my daily spreads. It's just showing up a lot of like, yes, there's so much to surrender right now. And so have compassion with yourself. Don't go, okay, Tower, I'm just, that's a hard energy to hold, to just be like kind of light and flip about it. This is a larger spiritual lesson. It can be intense, heartache, just like with the lovers, sometimes relationships, I mean, sometimes, almost always, relationships are our biggest teachers. And so that's what I feel with the tower, is that this relationship, this surrendering with the divine, is a very big teacher. Tower is an opportunity for a big learning moment, of how can you trust in what you have in yourself. If you're so concerned about who you are once you've lost your job or your income, I mean, those are major challenges. But do you still know who you are on the inside? That's what you don't want to lose sight of. That you are strong, you're loving, that you're the type of person that you show up in the world in a certain way. So dig into that of who you are. Let the tower go, right, this is hard for me in the external circumstances, but can I show up still? Can I find my strength inside of me? I know you can find some strength inside of you. How can you show up strong? I'm not saying you have to do a bunch of things or go around scrambling, but find that little piece within yourself rather than getting lost in the drama of what happens with the tower. That is an all too easy thing to do, where we just want to tell the woe is me stories and go on and on and on and spin. But that keeps you just reliving that over and over and over. You've got to grieve the things. There's a lot of emotions that are packed into the tower. You do have to grieve. You have to learn how to surrender and let go. You have to tap into trust. You have to find love. All of it's leading you back to hope and faith. And you have to have the existence of hope and faith, you have to believe in something outside of yourself. There is magic that brought you here. Just the sheer combining of the egg and the sperm that made you happen, that is magic. It's just incredible. And so think about that sense of, you don't have to get religious, but that feeling of acknowledging that there's these other energies is what helps to give me peace with the tower, of like leaning into hope and faith and trusting in what's coming, trusting that these challenges are ultimately doing something for me, even if I can't see it in the moment, even if it's bringing me to my knees, is forcing me to cry and reevaluate and assess all of these things. My heart goes out to you, it goes out to all of us. This is a challenging time. But hopefully this helps you understand a few different facets of the tower. So if it's showing up for you right now, don't be surprised. I mean, it's a pandemic. Of course the tower is going to be showing up. Our worlds have just gone, woo, it's just been thrown up into the air and we don't know how it's going to land. Because that's another issue with the tower, is it never goes back to the way it was, and some of that is because you learn something. And so you want to do it differently when you have another opportunity. So sometimes tearing things down shows you what values are most important to you, allows you to deepen your connections, show more love, live more in gratitude, all of those types of things. And, that tower, man, it's intense, but see if you can let it work for you and get some good messages from it. Thanks so much for tuning in. I have a lot more content over at tamingthetangle.com, and I will see you in future videos.